Joining me right now is Sunil Munjal, Joint Managing Director, Hero MotoCorp. Mr. Munjal, it's always a pleasure to have you with us here. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
You've been coming here for many years. What's been the response that you are getting when you meet people to India? I mean, people that we've met are saying, well, India seems to be back on the agenda. What's your feeling?
So there are two things, I think, which are distinctive this time. One is that the interest in India is clearly very high right now. Everybody's saying something is going on in India. They don't quite know what's going on, so there's a sense of curiosity. They want to know what the government is doing, and they also want to know what the industry is doing. By the way, they're asking that question as well. And of course, there is that sense of despondency about Europe still, which is like a cloud hanging over the whole conference. While some people are saying, interestingly, that parts of Europe are not doing as badly as is commonly believed.
Okay. I mean, today, for example, the European Central Bank has announced a massive stimulus program, their own quantitative easing program. So, again, very mixed reactions to that. I mean, people are saying it's not a silver bullet, it was necessary, though.
So, there is more positive than not. As you know, the European stock markets have all looked up, and the quantum announced is higher than was expected.
But specifically about India, what are you hearing? I mean, you're saying, well, there's curiosity, but
yes,
beyond that?
I see two or three different kinds of reactions from people, and you can see this in one-on-one conversations. You can also see some of the questions which are being asked of the Indians, including within the sessions. If you saw the sessions where the Indian ministers have spoken are completely sold out. I mean, there was no place. In fact, I saw in one of them people were getting upset that they could not get in. They shut the doors and there was not enough space for people to go in who were interested. So the question they're asking is, how quickly will the implementation of some of the big plans you're hearing happen? And how effective will be this implementation? And is India really going to be the fastest growing country in the world within the next 2 to 3 years in terms of annualized GDP growth? And then there are more specific questions about sectoral changes which have been made, some of the FDI caps that have been raised, etc. And we've actually been telling people that the reality is India is a more open economy than most people realize. Even if you look at just the FDI caps, the reality is barring 4 or 5 sectors, India is completely open in all of the sectors, and there is potential for investment, both domestic and foreign, in all of these areas. And when
the flip, just to come in there, but the flip side to that is, if it is actually open, I mean, it's actually a scary thing, because I mean, it essentially means that capital isn't coming in, although it can. On the other hand, if it was closed and you had to open up and there was all this capital waiting to get in, that would have been
That is the point I was going to make, that because the markets were slow and the mood was down, we did not see the kind of investment come in as we would have liked. By the way, it was coming in. I mean, you can't scoff at $15–20 billion, which does come in now. We take it for granted. Not too far back was a time when we were pitching to go beyond $2 or $3 billion, if you remember, on an annualized basis. So we are getting much more investment than we used to, but our expectation is higher, and so is our need. Because when we look for foreign investment, we are not looking only for money. We are also looking for technology, for systems, for connections to the global system, and for India to become a part of the global value chain. I think that's the real key to turn India into a global economy, is one, that Indian industry domestically must be very, very competitive. They should be able to compete with the best in the world in whatever are our chosen fields. And in addition to that, if we can embed ourselves in the global value chain, you become an inseparable part of whether it's manufacturing or it's services, value add in all the areas. And we have launched some pretty ambitious programs, whether it's a Make in India one, or it's one to grow the automotive sector, or to grow the defense sector, or to set up 2 fab facilities in India, where you can create potentially the largest growth opportunity in IT hardware manufacturing. Our old industries, traditional industries like textiles, also offer a pretty interesting opportunity for growth, and also some of them have become laggards. So those also have potential to turn around.
I just want to go back to the sessions here that you were referring to. What was, I mean, after the sessions, when you speak to the people who attended the sessions along with you, what was the response? I mean, Did the ministers do a good job selling India?
So first, I did not attend only the India sessions. I attended many different sessions.
Sure. No, but specifically with regards to where Mr. Jaitley was there. And,
the common comment was that he was very articulate, and he was fairly comprehensive in how he explained what's going on in India on a pretty broad spectrum. And in the Q&A, he was able to answer specific questions as well that were raised by, which was quite well received actually. And Mr. Piyush Goyal did a pretty interesting job on highlighting the opportunity in India in the power sector, because this is a sector in which people have been disappointed for a while, saying you keep talking about your potential, but you don't realize that potential. So he talked about some of the changes that have been made and some which are in the pipeline, including in the areas of wind and solar power. And I think the size of the opportunity that he presented looked quite interesting, potentially the largest opportunity in the world. He was talking about $100 billion investment within the next few years itself.
Yes. Just to come to Make in India, which is a flagship program being pushed here. In India, back home, there was a bit of a debate in terms of make in India, okay, but make for who? Dr. Raghuram Rajan, in one of his speeches, had said that, well, to go and do what China did, say, 30 years back, very weak currency, very cheap labor, large manufacturing facilities, that might not work because the world has changed. Countries that you want to export to have changed, so that isn't the solution. What are your thoughts about this?
So I don't think India is trying to copy China, by the way. And there are two things which are often misunderstood, I think. China grew global economy first, global market first, and then tried to develop domestic market. India did the flip side. And the belief is that China, in a sense, captured the mass manufacture space very well with the low-cost economy that they had developed, even though a lot of it was managed and through subsidies, etc. But they did that, and they could do it in their system of governance. In India, you cannot have that kind of a system of governance because we are a true democracy, and we are now trying to build a market economy. So we have to do it differently. Therefore, our attempt has to be to build higher value add, manufacturing which has more intellect, more design input.
But there's also the question of jobs, Mr. Munjal. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because there are only so many high-tech jobs that you can create, but about 1 million odd people are entering the workforce every month by some estimate.
Correct. Right? So this is what I was actually coming to, that India cannot focus on one slice of the economy.
Okay.
We have to do all of this. We have to do what looks like the very low end, the mid end, and the high end, because you will not only create jobs in manufacturing. It's well researched now that every one manufacturing job that you create results in between 3 to 6 manufacturing related services jobs. Sure. You take our industry, for example. Right. For every automotive company, there are a series of jobs that get created, whether it's the service providers, logistics providers, the truck drivers, the cleaners, the distributors, the dealers, and then once you have them on the road, the repair workshops. So the multiplier is absolutely phenomenal, which is why manufacturing is critical. While services has been a wonderful growth story as far as India is concerned, but we have to supplement it with more going on in manufacturing, because agriculture, while it needs to grow, agriculture will actually shed jobs as the efficiency in agriculture becomes higher. It will not create more jobs. Therefore, even connected to agriculture, we have to do manufacturing, which is logistics, which is food processing, which is cold chains, and that's where we need to create the skills and the jobs. And the skills, therefore, becomes the key.
One other issue is the fiscal. The government. One thing I've heard actually from many I've spoken to is that the government must start spending. They must actually forget about the fiscal deficit for a while. It's not such a holy cow anymore, and they should start spending, because somebody's got to give the demonstration effect, right?
Yeah. So I'm actually one of those who have said this, by the way.
Okay.
And we'd actually given numbers. The 4.1% fiscal deficit red line that we had drawn for ourselves. I think we should be willing to cross that line, because it is good for the system, and a minor slippage, even up to 4.4%, will not at this moment result in any down rating for India globally.
Absolutely.
And if it does, you then have headroom to spend more. Don't forget, the last year budget, we had dropped spending by 79,000 plus crores. And most of it actually came from plan expenditure.
The
non-plan went up.
Yes, absolutely.
The non-plan went up, and the plan expenditure actually came down, And most of the planned expenditure which came down were actually capex, which would actually have had a multiplier effect on the economy.
Sure.
Which is why I think it's important that not just the private sector, but the public sector enterprises and the government themselves, out of their budget, also start spending.
You think the government is listening? I mean, because most comments that
I think
hear
they are, actually.
Okay,
I have to say, in one of the meetings only a week or so ago, this recommendation was made to the finance minister. He said, I'm getting many recommendations. This is another one. This has come to me again. It's come earlier. And we will keep it in mind. I don't know whether they will finally, what they will do with it. But he did not,
but
he did not brush it off.
But you're saying that in the fiscal 16 budget, which is not very far away, if they say that, okay, our fiscal deficit for next year is actually going to be maybe slightly higher, and we need to spend, and these are the reasons why, it would be well received. It would not be a disaster, right?
I think the industry would receive it well. I think the economists would recognize that. I just don't know politically whether it may be seen as the right thing to do or not. So they have to figure out how to communicate this, to demonstrate to the people at large that it is in the benefit of the larger society and community in India.
Sure.
And therefore, I think it is necessary for us, because the consumption-led recovery that we were expecting has been slow to come around. It's patchy right now, the growth in consumption. Therefore, it is absolutely critical that the investment-led recovery also kicks in at the same time.
With the government helping. I mean, capacity utilization in a lot of sectors is very low. So
exactly. You know, fuel prices are low, global commodity prices are low, oil prices are low, inflation is lower than it has been in a long time, wholesale price index is down to zero, near zero, and even the consumer price indexed inflation is below the benchmark that the Reserve Bank of India had set for itself. So I think this is a perfect time for us to
that's a very important point,
get to spend.
I hope the government is listening and implements it. Thanks very much, Mr. Munjal.
Thank
Great
you.
talking to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.